Being blessed with a sonorous radio voice, I assumed I could just get on stage, wing it, and I'd do fine. Fortunately, I met Laurie-Ann and got into her in-demand program before I discovered the hard way that I was wrong. Now I have a signature speech. I have a structure to build signature speeches, and my stunning good looks and sonorous voice will serve me very well as I give a coherent, well-structured, impactful speech instead of what I was going to wing left to my own devices. So thank you so much, Laurie-Ann, for teaching me what I did not know and keeping me out of trouble and making it so I can actually have the impact that I'm hoping to have by getting on stages.
A few episodes ago, I talked about strategic networking, and that was episode 394. And I got to say, the response that I got, I know that I actually hit a chord because I got a number of DMs and emails and people all sharing how they loved this, but there was something missing. And the question that I kept seeing essentially said, and this is me paraphrasing, this makes so much sense. But how do I actually do this when I'm in the room and my brain is actually doing its thing? And that question, that's exactly why I knew that I needed to have a part 2. Because here's what I've noticed with almost every leader and executive that I've ever worked with. They're smart, they are capable, and they have plenty to say. But somewhere between their office and walking to that boardroom, something shifts. The inner critic wakes up. The second guessing starts, and they walk in already one step behind themselves. And as Stephen Pressfield writes in Do the Work, they have hit resistance. So today we're not talking about tactics, because I talked about that in episode 394. And if you haven't listened to that, I want to encourage you to make sure that you do listen to that. We're going to be talking today about the inner game, the mindset that either opens the door to strategic networking or it quietly keeps it closed. And I'm going to give you a step-by-step framework on how to show up as your best self so that when the opportunity is in front of you, you're actually ready to meet it. And if you are going back to listen to 394, also queue up 384 as well, because that is about how to teach your nervous system. This is the PSP, the Performance State Protocol that I talked about just a few weeks ago as well. And welcome back to Be in Demand. I'm Laurie-Ann, your host. I'm a speaker, coach, and someone who genuinely believes that your voice is your most underused asset. And this podcast is for coaches, consultants, and corporate leaders who are done playing small and ready to leverage speaking to attract clients, earn promotions, and build a reputation that precedes them. I'm glad that you found your way here, so let's dive into today's episode. So having worked with coaches, consultants, and corporate leaders for as long as I have, there are 3 different mindset blocks that I know come up for people as they're entering into the room, as they are in the room. And whether you actually are feeling this, or it might even be a subconscious belief. Here they are. I'm not ready. This is that imposter syndrome that is dressed up as humility. And imposter syndrome, when I was doing leadership executive coaching, was something that most leaders had never heard of. It was actually close to 90% of leaders had never heard of imposter syndrome. So this was something that I would be sharing to people. I could see from their 360 evaluation that they were suffering from imposter syndrome. There was a layer of imposter syndrome that was holding them back, and they didn't even know that it was there. So that's one. I don't want to seem self-promotional. This is really confusing visibility with your ego. It's like you know you want something, but you believe that if I speak up, if I share my thoughts, if I am the center of attention, that means I'm being self-promotional. And that's not true at all. You've no idea what somebody else is thinking. And that's not your job, is to be a mind reader. Because trust me, most of the time, you're going to be wrong if you're trying to read people's minds. But that will be for another episode. And the third one that I want to share is I need to have more things to say. I need to have better things to say. I need to be perfect in the way that I say them. These are all different forms of perfectionism that is showing up and stalling you. It's holding you back. It's keeping you small. And if you're feeling any of these, or you can look back at a time where you felt these or you noticed these, you're normal. It's common to feel this way, especially when you are doing something new, especially if you are used to being quiet, just sitting there taking notes. But what if you weren't taking notes? What if you were participating in the conversation? What if you were leading the conversation? I want you to think back to a time when you were at a meeting and then you left the meeting and maybe you were saying to yourself, I wish I had, I should have, I can't believe I didn't because that person shared the idea that I had and everybody seemed to like that idea. I want you to think about those times where you left and you were replaying what had happened along with your edits. Well, what I want to happen next time you're in that situation is that you do raise your hand. You do say, yes, I can do that. You do ask the question. You do share the idea. And you don't worry about being perfect. You don't worry about, are you ready enough? And you certainly don't worry about, am I being too self-promo? Am I being little Mr. or Mrs. Braggy Pants? I don't ever want you to think that again. Because strategic networking is not about performing. It's about contributing. So that shift goes from look at me to I have something to serve this room. And that shift changes everything, including how your body feels when you walk in. So that is something that you have to be very intentional about, is to decide, I have something to contribute. I have something to serve. That's why I'm going into this room. That's why I'm speaking at this event. That's why I'm running this meeting. That's why I'm in the audience. That's why I've been invited into this meeting. So that is number one. The next thing I want you to understand is that your mindset and your body, they are not separate. And earlier I mentioned episode 384, where I broke down the performance state protocol. I want you to go back and listen to that. If this is the first time that you listen to it, make sure you put it on your playlist. And if you already have listened to it, maybe you want to go back and listen to it again. It's very short, sweet, and to the point. Because before you can show up strategically in any room, you need to know how to regulate what's happening inside of you. So let's talk about how to show up as yourself. Step one, decide who you're going to be before you walk in. Just talked about that a couple of minutes ago. Identity precedes action. Strategic networkers don't wait till they feel confident. They choose a way that they're going to be. So ask yourself, who do I want to be in this room today? How do I want to be remembered in this room today? That's step one. Step two, audit the room before you even open your mouth. I mean, slow down, observe who's here. What's the energy? What does the room need? This isn't about hesitating, but it is about pausing. It's about gathering intelligence. Because here's what I know. You could be walking in a room and there's a tone to the meeting, except you've got a different attitude. So it's like we could be talking about something very, very serious, and you're walking in like, oh my God, like you just won $1 million and everything is great and roses, like there's this mismatch. So that's why I say you got to observe the room so that you can be able to change how you are in the room. Remember, identify how you want to be remembered in the room. Step three, your contribution. You don't need to dominate the conversation. And you don't need the spotlight to be just on you. And you don't need to be the only person who's asking questions. And you don't have to be the person who's leading the conversation. Because at a meeting, there could be multiple people that are contributing, multiple presenters. But you need a moment. one question, one insight, one perspective. And if you have that and you're being quiet, I just want you to know, like, you're not contributing. That question that comes up for you, I want you to ask it. The insight, the perspective change, the did you know? One well-placed contribution is worth so much more than 10 random comments. So find your moment. Step 4, speak with value. This is about speaking not from a place of need, because the energy of I need to be seen, people can feel that. And it really pushes people away, like it repels. But the energy of I have something worth contributing is magnetic. And that's the shift. So before you speak, ask yourself, is this for them or is this for me? If it's for them, I want you to ask it. I want you to contribute it. Add value. Step 5, follow up. A note to connect with other people. One intentional next step. This is where the relationship and the reputation, your reputation, compounds. This is how you are building more meaningful relationships with other people. Hey, if you're listening to this and you're realizing that the mindset piece, this inner game is actually what's been standing between you and the visibility that you want, I want you to trust that instinct. This is the work that I do with leaders one-on-one. We don't just build the speech or the strategy, we build you. That version of you that walks into rooms differently, speaks up with confidence, and stops waiting for permission to be seen. If that resonates, I'd like to invite you to book a call with me, just a conversation. We'll look at where you are, where you want to be, and whether working together makes sense for this season of your career. The link is in the show notes, speakandstandout.com/executive-presence. No pressure. I'm just opening the door for you. So let's get back to the show. Let's just put everything together. Mindset isn't a one-time pep talk. It's a practice. That's why I want you to go back and listen to 384, because you want to start doing this before you actually need it. And you'll understand more about what I'm saying when you listen to the episode. I get my clients to start doing this right away. It's one of the first things that we do when we start working together, because the more that you do this, the more that you're training your nervous system how to behave. That way you can, on a dime, for those impromptu meetings, for those meeting planners that call you and say, my speaker that was booked for tonight or tomorrow just had to cancel. I'm looking for a speaker. You are ready. You can command your nervous system to respond the way that you've trained it. And the way that you train it is so that you show up as the 10.0, the best version of you, because that audience, that meeting, all those people that are in the room for that meeting, they always deserve the best version of you. So to wrap all of this up, I want you to understand that strategic networking is for the busy business person, the busy careerist, because you don't have time to just network, to go for coffee chats. That's why I want you to be strategically networking to get in the room with decision makers so that you get that next big opportunity. You're not just networking for a promotion or that next big client. You're building a reputation, one that is outside of your job title, one that isn't just your job title. As a matter of fact, it's you. Like, people are talking about you even when you're not in the room. And that's really what being in demand is. I want people to say, we need to hire this kind of a person. And they describe the person that they're looking for. And whoever they're speaking to is like, you need to hire, like, they use your name and not, oh, I know this manager, this mid-level manager that's over at this other company. Like, they're using your name. Your name means something because of relationships. And if you're a coach or a consultant, when somebody is talking about the problem that you solve, we want them using your name and not, oh, I know the perfect web designer. I want them to use your name because they saw you speak at a meeting. All right, I hope that you found this helpful and you understand a little bit more about the mindset that goes with strategic networking so that you always show up as the best version of yourself because you never have a second chance to make a first impression. So let's always make the very best first impression. And the invitation's still open. If today stirred something up in you and you are ready to stop waiting until you feel ready, I want to invite you to book a call. Let's talk about where you are, where you want to go. The link is down below in the show notes. So until next time, I want you to keep showing up, keep speaking, and remember, the room needs what you already have. They just need to hear it from you, and you have to decide to bring it, to say it, to share it. So until next week, I want you to be in demand.